Have you ever listened to a person talk for less than a minute and know you weren't going to get along with that person? What did they say? Yeah, this guy hopped into our Discord group a few months back. He was a friend of a friend, but he didn't think to just add him to our server, not our group chat. We all hop into a call, and first thing he does is make some remarks that are very politically sensitive, sends me some graphic photos, and made inappropriate remarks. I didn't expect to meet someone and have him offend 6 people in the span of 10 minutes. You don't scare me. I wasn't trying to scare you in the slightest. He told me,
Yeah, all women are bitches. You included, no offense.
within the first 2 minutes of knowing me. Oh, none taken. You're clearly not the type of person whose opinion I care about. Parent of one of my kids' friends in school said that there was a mouse in their house and his wife wanted him to kill it, but he didn't want to kill any creatures. He wants to make friends with them instead. But the wife insisted, so he threw his shoe at it and eventually managed to hit it. But it wasn't dead, so he threw his shoe at it another 4 times. And then it still wasn't dead, so he poured boiling water over it to kill it. It still didn't die, so he poured boiling water over it again. It still wasn't dead, so he decided to leave it alone in the hopes it would peacefully pass away. The logic of people being too squeamish to kill something and instead deciding to torture it to death, slowly in the most agonizingly painful way, absolutely blew my mind. My cats were torturing a mouse and not killing it because cats are not human, and such morals do not apply to them, I guess. Anyway, I felt so bad for the poor thing, I picked it up with a plastic bag and snapped its neck, 'cause I couldn't stand to see it continue to suffer. Did I enjoy it? No. Do I like killing things? Hell no. But I'd rather give it a swift death rather than watch it suffer. It was honestly one of the harder things I've had to do. But I did it because I felt wrong doing nothing. Years ago, me and my ex-husband went to see a movie with an older colleague of his. Before the movie, we had dinner at like a chain restaurant steakhouse type place. Staff on the floor was all 20-ish. I never met this man before, but in the first few minutes of sitting down and looking at the menu, he very confidently told us how he came there a lot and flirted with the female staff because
They love the attention.
the best part, his daughter worked there. All I could think of was how I would literally cringe myself through the floor if I was 20 and my 50-year-old dad came into my place of work and perved on my coworkers because he didn't understand that they only put up with him because they are paid to do so. My papa would come into the restaurants that I worked in. I usually was his server, but once someone else got his table. My coworkers would fight to take him. My papa is a funny dude that left enormous tips and joked with everyone around him that was cool with it. He was one of those tall, skinny guys that looks like a guy you could talk to. I remember I had told him about one of my coworkers having a rough time of it. He came in, specifically requested her, and then left her $100 bill as a tip. When I got home, he asked if she'd gotten the tip. Of course she had, and then broken down hugging me, telling me that my grandfather was the best person that she'd ever met. And oh boy, she wasn't wrong. When a mutual friend introduces you and you go to greet them, and they deny it and proudly exclaim, "I'm a hugger," and then immediately go in for an unwanted hug, like WTF. I was in a job interview once, and the manager cut me off mid-sentence to jump to a weird conclusion. What do you think the performance of this algorithm would be? Oh, it'll be insert n times. Oh, you think it's just gonna be n? You think it'll be n? That's ridiculous. That's no way it'll just be n. You gotta let me finish speaking. And then he cut me off mid-sentence twice more during our conversation. We did not get along. The dude was a total tool. There are different levels to being a psychic. I'm on the purple level, so I can talk to the dead, said a new employee at my previous job. No. I know I'm not supposed to ask, but I need to know. It's not for work or anything. What religion are you? Says the HR manager. I belong to the Church of Our Lady of Perpetual Lawsuits, lady. Blessed be thy evidence. New guy at work, first coffee break, he started complaining about his ex, who had full custody of the kids for some unknowable reason, and also how he'd like to slash her throat with a rusty knife. Nice to meet you too. I don't think I'll be taking breaks with you. Thank you very much. If you're enjoying the stories we've had today, remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment with your own thoughts on the stories or your own personal stories. Now let's get back into the stories. They talk negatively about someone else in a very judgy way. There was this mom in my daughter's school who seemed to know everyone. She talked to me and she spoke so bad about these people. Then moments later I saw her interacting in a friendly way with those that she was just judging. My eyes rolled so much I could see my brain telling me not to get involved with her. And I was right, because by the time the school year ends, her friends hated her, and they were talking behind her back too. I started my PhD a few months ago, and one of a common starter conversation with postgraduates you just met is, what is this stasis about? Well, I got asked this question first, and after describing my dissertation theme, the other guy goes, oh, I see. Well, mine is actually important, with a very condescending tone. Well, pal, fuck you too, I guess. I was listening to the Next of Him podcast, and the clip of the founder saying he has an IQ of 225. If I walked into a room and heard someone say that, I would walk right back out. She showed up to a little get-together, and the person who invited her said that they would be taking bets on who could sit with her for more than 30 minutes. $10 per person. The winner kept the pot. I assumed they were just being rude and planned to tell her friends' plans as soon as she showed up. She walked in, looked at me, and scoffed and asked if the gray car outside belonged to me. I said yes. She told me that with the money that car cost, I could have bought something nicer. Okay, well, whatever. I went to get a drink and sat to watch the crowd gather around her. I already didn't like her, but she went on to tell everyone how she could never date someone who had a crappy credit score or couldn't pay their vehicles off after buying it. Someone who wanted to quit the contest asked for a cigarette. She opened up her purse and showed everyone a fresh pack of smokes, and then told everyone why she doesn't smoke, and why anyone who asks for a cigarette is either too broke to buy them or doesn't plan ahead of time. The guy asked her for one of her cigarettes, and she said no, and put them back in her purse. She talked about all the cars she bought. Basically, her parents would co-sign for her and then pay the car off to build her credit, and she would give them a few thousand to pay them back. She was nuts and wouldn't stop talking. I disliked her, but also super fascinated with her. She was super weird. Okay, but if she doesn't smoke, why does she have a pack in her purse? And it's not even for sharing, given that somebody asked and she said no. It's just to morally grandstand on people. That's disgusting. The quiet boy at school sat next to me and told me how hard he felt when he took a dump and how many times he kersplooshed that way. Needless to say, I never sat next to him again. Some people might say I'm an asshole, but I just tell it how it is. 99% chance they're an asshole and I don't want to be around them. I was a customer at work. Naturally, I wouldn't be friends, but even in a setting where we could become friends, it wasn't happening. I came up to her to see if she had any questions about our critters. I work in a pet shop, and the very first thing she asked was if parakeets could talk, because she wanted to teach them racial slurs. Well, that was the biggest nope of my life. A new guy at work was super fake by being overly excited and super overly comfortable with everyone in the first minute. He's all like Miami this and Papa that to everyone, and is very overly touchy. We were almost all Hispanics, and everyone was uncomfortable. First phone call of the day, he hangs up cursing and taking it super personally that someone hung up on him, which is a daily occurrence in customer service. After about 9 months, I put in my 2 weeks' notice solely because I couldn't work next to him. He would also get overly gossipy and personal. My boss rejected my notice and transferred him. He couldn't stand the guy either. No one could. Bosses can reject, notice of, 2-week notices? No, I know that's not the point of this, but I don't think bosses can technically reject 2-week notices like that. The guy's an asshole, but I don't think bosses can do that. What? The Meet Your Teacher Day before my kiddo started kindergarten, and this other parent literally bragged that her kid was completely illiterate, couldn't stand being read to, and she hated reading to. Oh, just say her kid's dumb, it's quicker. I had just started a job, and within a minute of meeting one of my new colleagues, he waxes lyrical about how weak it was that one of our other colleagues uses an inhaler, oblivious to the fact that I myself use an inhaler, although my asthma is mild and well managed. Ironically, the shit-talking colleague in question had no discernible chin, and looked very out of shape himself. The new neighbor, who after introducing himself, pointed to his chest and says, "Instant asshole, just add beer. That's what the family says." Nah, we're not gonna be neighbors, pal. Frick you, Triv. You were an asshole even without beer. Asked me, "Do you mind if I smoke?" and then proceeded to take out a meth pipe. I had a friend do exactly that while we drove down a highway, literally. "Can I smoke in here?" "Sure, I don't mind." Brings out meth on tinfoil from pocket. We had just moved into a new house. An older gentleman, he was 65 and I was 35 at the time, came across the street towards me and stuck out his hand. I shook it and he said, "We love new neighbors, as long as they're white." Oh, racist. I remember seeing someone for around 20 seconds. They didn't seem aware of my presence, and they were already making fun of me because I simply walked by. They made fun of other people too, but the fact that they just met someone and immediately targeted them for harassment is a red flag bigger than most polls can handle. She was complaining the 15-year-old kid, who just fled from the war in Ukraine, wasn't working hard enough at his dishwashing job. The kid doesn't want to be alone in a dishwashing kitchen all day, not be able to speak to anyone. He should be in school at home with all of his friends. Of course he's not super excited about the stupid dishes. The lack of compassion was astounding, and she indeed was a wretched person, so my initial impression was correct. He learned I'm a physicist and immediately started talking about infinite energy. Like perpetual motion? "In this house we obey the laws of thermodynamics." Me on my first day on the job on my lunch break. Coworker:
"Are you Chinese?"
"Yeah."
"I don't like Chinese food."
Walks away. "Well, then don't eat me then. That's your choice." I asked the guy what he does on a business networking event. Well, I'm a chiropractor, but looking to get out. How come? All these Me Too accusations. In another state, I had 3 of them. Good thing none of them went to the bar. He probably said board instead of bar. As soon as he started complaining about Me Too accusations, I pretty much tuned him out. I started a new job, went to a team dinner, and the very first thing he did was talk about how bad the dating scene was in the city and how ugly all the women are. Dating scene was absolutely fine, by the way. I pull out of the conversation, and then he just continues to ramble on about how smart he is versus everyone else. Safe to say I've been avoiding him ever since. I met someone at the dog park. He got to talking about what we do for work.
I screen resumes at my job and deny everyone with an overly complicated ethnic name.
That's discriminatory and illegal.
They'll never know.
And on that note, I think we're going to end today's video on that. Oh boy, people suck. If you enjoyed today's video, remember to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and maybe leave a comment with your stories or thoughts on the stories I provided. Now, I have a Reddit story playlist, or a horror story playlist. So if you want to check that out, feel free to click off of this into that. Now, I will see you next time. Hasta la pasta.